we saw the average gold price for the last quarter at an all-time high. And it's interesting, a lot of people are suggesting that the gold price is not performing. It's performing extremely well. And for me, the more interesting part is that some see this as driven by a forecast decline in interest rates. And certainly having recently traveled right around the world, I really believe it's more about a risk-on situation as we wrestle with the global economy and deglobalisation of the world as a whole, and the fact that China is not, I don't believe, going to get back to where it was. It's certainly going to recover, but not back to where it was. And again, our supply chains and general investment in the economy and upliftment of some of those more challenged economies are going to hurt if we don't stop and invest in it. Otherwise, all we're going to do is create a future where the rich continue to get richer and the poor get even poorer. And so we held a mining summit in Islamabad, and it was very interesting for me to see the realization from Pakistan that things needed to change. And there were comments about, it's been 70 years of mistakes, and this country has everything that it needs to get on top of things. It's got the people by far, but it needs to care about them. And I'm drawing from the leadership that spoke at the opening of the mining summit. It needs to focus on development and not just exploitation. And finally, it needs to attract foreign investments. And in fact, the Minister of Petroleum pointed out that their strategy was to turn red tape into a red carpet for investors. And that is very interesting. That's a massive transition, as you know, that country's got many challenges. And I think we've seen West Africa, what happens when we neglect these developing countries. And we've spoken many times to some of the major economies in the world about West Africa and the importance of staying there and engaging in conversation and working on investment, and instead of just lecturing. And again, the elected governments right across that region have failed, and we don't seem to want to do anything about it except lecture. And so there's a big need for the world to relook at how it manages its business. And again, as far as the policy towards mining and metals in the United States goes, it has to reflect on how important it is just to exploit other people's natural resources rather than develop some of its own, and engage and support and build a real mining industry, because that's what's required if we're going to have a better world ahead of us. And there certainly is conversation starting around those topics. And as you know, I've spoken a lot about the importance of partnerships and development across the world. And Barrick is, hopefully I'll share with you what we've done and now the real results that are starting to materialize in our policy of driving partnerships with our host countries around the world. And I'm also going to spend a little time focusing in on exploration, because this ongoing debate of you only grow it through M&A, and we've put a lot of effort in the last 4 years in, one, fixing our assets, and two, building that bench strength in exploration. And we've got some initial pointers now starting to materialize, which we'll share with you. And we're super excited about being able to actually support some of these early results with real borehole results by the end of this current quarter. Flipping across to Pakistan, the feasibility study at Reko Diq made material progress this last quarter and is still scheduled for completion by the end of next year, with 2028 targeted for first production of concentrate. infrastructure development is underway, and the refurbishment, which is a key thing of the airstrip, has been approved for flights with a weekly charter now going to site. And in line with our commitment, as you see in this inset, to early benefit sharing with the people of Balochistan, we've already established 2 primary schools as part of our community investment as proposed by the newly formed community development committees. So this is something that's in partnership with our communities. And it's worth noting, you know, when you look at the Afghan story and you look at this story, and the Baloch people are across, you know, in Afghanistan and in Balochistan of Pakistan, and you see this school and you see that they're more or less 50-50 boys and girls. It's quite an achievement. And I'll tell you a little bit about Balochistan, particularly around Reko Diq. There is no economic activity. And so when you give people a chance to earn money, it's amazing what happens. And it's the only place in the world where I've seen more schools than kids. In fact, all the schools are empty. Why? Because there's such poverty that the children have to work to survive. And so us coming there and supporting the children, giving them a square meal, getting them to school, is the only way they can get educated. And this is part of a program that we did very well in Kibale, and that is educating the future operators of the mine, ahead of the mine. So we've done it. We started with, this is a multi-generational mine, so we've started with junior school. We've also looked at vocational training of those young teens. And then we've gone abroad and looked across the universities for Baloch people who have already finished or about to finish their degrees in, particularly in engineering, but engineering, some economics, and processing. And so the first bunch we've now contracted, and they will be moved to our operations around the world, and they'll start working with us with the intention that they will be the leaders of the operation when we turn it on in a few years' time. And again, we commissioned Kibale with local people. So every day, most of our workers go home into the villages around the mine, and so the community are our workers, and that's our intention for Reko Diq as well. Africa is by far the most consistent performer in our portfolio, and it's not only a reliable contributor to the bottom line, but also host to a wealth of gold and copper opportunities. The Loulo-Gounkoto complex delivered its usual strong performance and is on track to achieve its 2023 guidance as it continues to invest in greening its power supply grid, as well as replenishing its reserves and looking for more. And again, this has been a spectacular asset. It would be remiss of me not to point out that Mali is not without its challenges, and I would add it has never been without these challenges. We have been operating there for 26 years, and in that time we've built Loulo-Gounkoto into one of the world's 10 largest gold mining complexes, as well as the country's largest taxpayer and employer, certainly largest employer outside government. We've had a constructive relationship with successive governments through some very turbulent times, and in recent weeks I've personally engaged with the key members of the current leadership about their proposed new mining code, and I'm very optimistic that, as in the past, we'll find a mutually acceptable way to keep gold shining for Mali. In West Africa, there's a lot of opportunities I pointed out. It's a very dynamic place right now, as you would have read in the newspaper with the latest coup in Niger. But staying with Loulo, we continue to define wide, high-grade intersections on the extensions along the big structures that host the multiple world-class assets. around and within the Loulo-Gounkoto leases. While also across the border in Senegal, we continue to evaluate the Dilemma joint venture in particular, and we've got the Babanji joint venture, and we are continuing to expand our footprint in eastern Senegal. And in Cote d'Ivoire, we're assessing the Fonandara satellite deposits and other high priority targets. The team has been extremely successful in adding to the life of mine of Tongon. Moving across to the Democratic Republic of Congo and Kibali. Again, Kibali overcame its first quarter challenges to deliver a substantial improvement, as you can see here, in production for quarter two, and this has really set it back on course to achieve its full year guidance. And we're also really focusing on our underground development to build additional flexibility and be able to support the new 10-year mine plan. And ongoing exploration really has highlighted immediately to the west of the KCD main series of deposits the potential for more of the same. And we're quite excited about this recent development. And in Tanzania, which is a real success story, our Twiga joint venture with the Tanzanian government is a poster child for my thesis that mining can be the force that makes undeveloped countries investable. And there's no better example than Tanzania. And it's great to see BHP putting its toe in the water in Tanzania on the nickel project. After Barrick took control of North Mara and Bulyanhulu in 2019, it transformed them into operations capable of producing a combined 500,000 ounces annually. In other words, a tier 1 production profile. And we have also shown that we can achieve this, and what you can achieve when a mining company and its host country work together to develop its natural resource endowment. And last quarter, conversion drilling at North Mara replaced all the reserves depleted from mining, and we mined the first ore from the Gena pit, and additional opportunities for resource conversion. Bully's got a very long life, well into the 20s. North Mara's just over 10 years, so big focus there. And it's worth having a look at this slide, and that is we have 3 tier 1 terrains in our Central and East African holdings. The Kibali lease area I've already covered, a new exploration footprint south of Bulyanhulu, and high priority permits along the Gokona corridor, which I've just referred to. And again, this Gokona corridor is an exciting opportunity. When we were in Randgold Resources, we were always trying to get our hands on those extensions, and it's taken us a while to secure the permits because they were lapsed. They lapsed under the Acacia time, and so we've now got them, and we're starting to evaluate them, and we're super excited about the opportunity to extend North Mara's life of mine on the back of that. We also have a very significant intersection beneath the Nyabagena pit, as you see here, and it's really got everyone's attention. We're not sure about how it actually fits into the ore bodies at the moment, but it's a recently confirmed intersection. Moving across into Zambia, and generally our copper operations, as I pointed out, Lumwana is well set to achieve its guidance for the year. It really is going to have a strong second half. And with the implementation of its owner-miner strategy and the commissioning of the arrival and commissioning of the new fleet, where we replaced a contractor, which was very expensive. We've already seen a reduction in costs, as you can see here on the slide, and excited about the prospects of Lumwana. Lumwana has the potential, based on our preliminary economic assessment, to be equivalent to our share of the Ricard investment. That's how significant it is. So I'd point out that at the time of the merger, no one believed in Lumwana. It was a high-cost producer making no money, and its subsequent transformation into a potential Tier 1 asset in our copper portfolio is another one of Barrick's big success stories. And we're talking about significant reserve conversion on the back of the feasibility study we're busy with. And the projected expansion on the back of this new super pit, as I pointed out, will add significantly to its production and take the mine life to beyond 2060.